I told my brother's wife she can't stay at my house because of her vegan peanut allergy. Today, I'm sharing a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about setting boundaries with family. This isn't just about food allergies or dietary preferences. This is about manipulation, entitlement, and the moment when enough becomes enough. Stick around because the revenge twist at the end will absolutely blow your mind. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button because stories like this don't come around every day. Let me set the scene for you because context is everything here. I'm a 32-year-old woman who worked incredibly hard to buy my own home 3 years ago. This isn't some mansion or luxury property, but it's mine, paid for with my own money and my own sweat. I live alone, I enjoy my space, and I've created a sanctuary that reflects exactly who I am and what I value. My brother Daniel is 35 and has been married to his wife Sarah for about 6 years now. Their relationship has always been complicated, but I tried to stay out of it because, honestly, their drama isn't my problem. Sarah became vegan about 4 years ago, and let me be clear, I have absolutely nothing against veganism as a lifestyle choice. People can eat whatever they want, believe whatever they want, and live however they want. But Sarah didn't just become vegan, she became the kind of vegan who makes it her entire personality and judges everyone else for not following her exact path. Every family dinner became a lecture about animal cruelty, every birthday cake was criticized, and every meal I cooked was somehow morally inferior. Still, I kept my mouth shut because I'm not the type to start unnecessary drama at family gatherings. Then, about 2 years ago, Sarah suddenly developed what she called a severe peanut allergy. Now here's where things get interesting, and I mean really interesting. She claimed that she couldn't be around peanuts at all, that even the smell could trigger a reaction, and that cross-contamination could literally kill her. She started carrying an EpiPen everywhere, demanded that family members remove all peanut products from their homes before she visited, and made every single gathering revolve around her alleged allergy. My parents complied immediately. My other siblings reorganized their entire kitchens, and everyone walked on eggshells around her supposed condition. But I noticed something strange that nobody else seemed to catch. Sarah never actually had a reaction to peanuts, not even once in 2 years. She would claim to feel symptoms coming on, she would dramatically leave rooms, and she would make a huge scene about checking ingredient labels. Yet somehow, she never needed that EpiPen, never had to go to the hospital, and never showed any actual physical symptoms that anyone could witness. I started paying closer attention because something felt off, and my gut instinct is usually pretty accurate about these things. I watched her at a restaurant once eat pad thai without asking about the sauce, which anyone with a real peanut allergy knows typically contains peanut ingredients. She ate cookies at my cousin's house that were clearly labeled as made in a facility that processes peanuts. She never asked about oils or cross-contamination when eating at new places, which is literally the first thing people with severe allergies do. The more I observed, the more convinced I became that this allergy was completely fabricated for attention and control. Fast forward to 3 months ago, when Daniel called me out of the blue. He sounded stressed, exhausted, and honestly kind of desperate when he asked if he and Sarah could stay at my place for a few weeks. Apparently, their apartment building was doing major renovations that included asbestos removal, so they needed to relocate temporarily. My brother and I have always had a decent relationship. Not super close, but not distant either. So my first instinct was to help him out. Then he mentioned that I would need to completely purge my house of any peanut products before they arrived because of Sarah's allergy. This is where I need you to understand my living situation, because it's crucial to what happened next. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, which means my house is both my personal space and my professional workspace. My kitchen is stocked with foods I actually eat and enjoy, including several peanut butter products that are staples in my diet. I eat peanut butter toast for breakfast almost every morning. I use peanut sauce in my cooking regularly, and I have protein bars with peanuts that I rely on for quick snacks during work. This isn't just a casual preference. These items are integrated into my daily routine and meal planning. When Daniel explained that I would need to throw away all these products, deep clean my entire kitchen, and potentially replace my wooden cutting boards and utensils because of cross-contamination risks, I felt something snap inside me. This wasn't a simple request to be accommodating. This was a demand to completely restructure my home and habits for someone whose allergy I strongly suspected was fake. I told Daniel that I needed to think about it and would call him back, which apparently wasn't the immediate yes he expected. He sounded annoyed, but said okay, and that's when I decided to do some investigating on my own. I started with social media because people always reveal more than they realize online. I went through Sarah's Instagram, her Facebook, and even her TikTok account that I didn't know existed. What I found was absolutely fascinating and confirmed every suspicion I had been harboring for 2 years. There were photos of her at restaurants holding desserts that clearly contained peanuts, check-ins at an ice cream place famous for their peanut butter flavors, and even a video from 8 months ago where she was eating what was obviously a Reese's peanut butter cup. No EpiPen in sight, no allergic reaction, just Sarah enjoying food that should have killed her, according to her own claims. I took screenshots of everything because I knew this was going to become important evidence later. Then I did something that might seem sneaky, but felt completely justified given the circumstances. I called my aunt, who's a nurse, and asked her hypothetically about peanut allergies and how they present. She explained that true, severe peanut allergies show immediate symptoms, that people with them are extremely vigilant, and that faking such an allergy would be incredibly dangerous and irresponsible. Armed with this information and my screenshot evidence, I called Daniel back the next day. I told him straight up that I wasn't comfortable having them stay at my house under these conditions. I explained that I had evidence suggesting Sarah's allergy wasn't real, that I wasn't willing to throw away my food and reorganize my entire life for what appeared to be a fabricated condition, and that they would need to find alternative arrangements. Daniel absolutely lost it on the phone, calling me selfish, cruel, and accusing me of not caring about his wife's health. He said I was choosing peanut butter over family, that I was being unreasonable, and that everyone else had accommodated Sarah without complaint. That last comment really got under my skin because it highlighted exactly what I suspected all along. Everyone had accommodated Sarah, everyone had bent over backwards, and everyone had enabled this behavior without question. I was apparently the first person to say no, to push back, to demand actual proof of this life-threatening condition. Daniel hung up on me before I could even share the evidence I had collected, which told me everything I needed to know about his willingness to face the truth. Within an hour, my phone started blowing up with messages from family members. My mom called crying, asking how I could be so heartless to my brother in his time of need. My dad sent a text saying I was being difficult over nothing and should just help them out. My younger sister accused me of starting drama for attention, and my older brother said I was making a big deal out of a simple request. Nobody wanted to hear about the evidence I had, nobody wanted to consider that maybe Sarah was lying, and nobody wanted to acknowledge that my boundaries were valid. Sarah herself sent me a long message that was equal parts guilt-tripping and victimization. She said she couldn't believe I would put her life at risk over something so trivial, that she had always tried to be kind to me despite me clearly not liking her, and that this proved I was the toxic family member everyone had warned her about. She claimed she had medical documentation of her allergy, but conveniently never offered to show it to me. The manipulation was so thick I could practically taste it through the phone screen, and I knew I had made the right decision. I decided to stand firm in my boundary, because backing down would only validate this manipulative behavior. I responded to Sarah's message with a simple statement, saying that I would be happy to accommodate a verified medical condition if she could provide documentation from an actual allergist. I said I had concerns about the legitimacy of her allergy based on observations over the past 2 years, and that I wasn't comfortable making major changes to my home without proper verification. Her response was to block me on all social media and tell Daniel that I had called her a liar. The family pressure intensified over the next week to the point where it was affecting my mental health and work productivity. I had relatives I barely spoke to reaching out to tell me I was wrong, family friends offering their opinions on my character, and even my grandmother calling to say she was disappointed in me. Daniel and Sarah ended up staying with my parents, which meant my mom had to completely redo her kitchen and follow all of Sarah's rules. I felt guilty for about 5 minutes until I remembered that my mom chose to enable this situation instead of asking reasonable questions. Then, something happened that changed everything and validated every single suspicion I had. My cousin Jessica, who's studying to be a dietitian, was helping my mom prepare meals that were both vegan and peanut-free for Daniel and Sarah's stay. Jessica mentioned casually that she was curious about Sarah's specific allergy because peanut allergies are actually relatively rare in adults who didn't have them as children. She asked Sarah some basic questions about her diagnosis, when she was tested, what her allergist recommended, and how she manages cross-contamination risks. Sarah apparently got extremely defensive and changed the subject quickly, which raised red flags for Jessica too. Jessica did what I had done and started paying closer attention to Sarah's behavior around food. She noticed that Sarah would claim to smell peanuts in places where there weren't any, that she would create drama about checking labels but never actually read them thoroughly, and that her supposed symptoms were always conveniently vague and self-reported. Jessica came to me privately and said she believed I was right to question this allergy. Having an ally in the family felt incredible because I had started to doubt myself under all that pressure. Jessica and I decided to do something that might seem extreme but felt necessary to expose the truth. We planned a family dinner at my parents' house where Jessica would prepare all the food personally, ensuring everything was completely vegan and peanut-free according to Sarah's requirements. But Jessica also prepared a separate dish that she told Sarah was made with almond butter when it actually contained peanut butter, just to see what would happen. Before you judge us for this, understand that we weren't trying to hurt Sarah or trigger a real allergic reaction. If Sarah truly had a severe peanut allergy, she would have smelled the peanut butter immediately and refused to eat it, or she would have had a reaction from cross-contamination in the kitchen. The fact that she ate the entire dish without any issues would prove definitively that her allergy was fake. We had an EpiPen on standby just in case we were wrong, but we were both pretty confident about what would happen. The dinner happened 2 weeks ago, and it played out exactly as we predicted. Sarah ate the peanut butter dish, complimented Jessica on the flavor, and asked for seconds without a single symptom appearing. She didn't smell peanuts, she didn't feel her throat closing, she didn't need her EpiPen, and she didn't have any reaction whatsoever. Jessica and I exchanged looks across the table, both of us knowing we now had undeniable proof. After dinner, Jessica announced to everyone what she had done and why, explaining that Sarah had just consumed a significant amount of peanut butter with zero allergic reaction. The explosion that followed was absolutely nuclear, and I mean that literally. Sarah's face went completely red as she realized she had been caught in her lie. She started claiming that maybe it was a mild reaction, that perhaps her allergy had improved, that possibly she had built up a tolerance somehow. Daniel looked absolutely devastated as the reality sank in that his wife had been lying for 2 years. My parents sat in stunned silence, probably calculating how much money and effort they had wasted accommodating a fake allergy. Sarah then switched tactics and started crying, saying that she had been trying to protect herself from accidentally eating animal products, and that claiming an allergy was the only way people took her veganism seriously. She admitted that she wasn't actually allergic to peanuts, but insisted that her reasoning was valid, because people don't respect dietary choices the same way they respect medical conditions. The victim mentality was strong as she tried to make herself the wronged party in a situation where she had been manipulating everyone for years. I stood up at that dinner table and let loose everything I had been holding back for 2 years. I told Sarah that her lie had caused massive inconvenience for multiple family members, that faking a medical condition was insulting the people with real allergies, and that using manipulation to control others was toxic behavior that I refused to enable. I said that this was exactly why I didn't want her staying at my house, because I saw through her act and refused to participate in it. Daniel tried to defend her initially, but even he couldn't deny the evidence that was right in front of him. The aftermath of that dinner has been absolutely wild in terms of family dynamics shifting. Daniel called me the next day to apologize for pressuring me and calling me selfish. He admitted that he had suspected something was off, but didn't want to believe his wife would lie about something so serious. He said they were going to counseling because this revealed much bigger issues in their marriage about honesty and manipulation. My parents also apologized for not taking my concerns seriously and for allowing Sarah to dictate so much of our family gatherings. Sarah, of course, is playing the victim to anyone who will listen outside our immediate family. She's telling friends that we poisoned her intentionally, that we never supported her lifestyle, and that we're all toxic people who drove her away. She's refused to apologize to anyone and has instead doubled down on her justifications for lying. Daniel is apparently considering separation because this incident revealed a pattern of manipulative behavior he had been ignoring for years. My mom told me that Sarah had also been lying about other things, including financial situations and her relationships with her own family. The most satisfying part of all this has been the vindication of my original instinct. I knew something was wrong. I trusted my gut and I stood firm in my boundary despite enormous pressure to back down. If I had caved and let them stay at my house, I would have enabled Sarah's lie to continue indefinitely and validated her manipulative tactics. Instead, I forced a confrontation that exposed the truth and hopefully will lead to healthier dynamics for everyone involved, especially my brother, who deserves a partner who doesn't lie to control him. I've learned some valuable lessons from this experience that I want to share with anyone watching. First, trust your instincts when something feels off because your subconscious mind often picks up on patterns before your conscious mind can articulate them. Second, setting boundaries is not selfish even when people try to make you feel guilty for having them. Third, enabling bad behavior to keep the peace actually creates more problems in the long run than addressing issues directly. Fourth, you don't owe anyone access to your home or resources, even family members, especially when they're being manipulative. Some people have asked me if I feel bad about how things went down, or if I regret not just accommodating Sarah to avoid the drama. The answer is absolutely not, because accommodating a lie doesn't make you kind, it makes you complicit. Sarah's behavior affected multiple people for years, cost everyone time and money, and created unnecessary stress for the entire family. Someone needed to call it out, and I'm glad it was me, even though it was uncomfortable and caused temporary conflict. Looking back at the whole situation, I can see now that Sarah's fake allergy was about control and attention more than anything else. She wanted to be the center of concern at every gathering. She wanted people to cater to her needs above their own, and she wanted the power that comes from having a serious medical condition. Faking an allergy gave her all of that without actually having to deal with any real health consequences. It's a particularly insidious form of manipulation because questioning someone's medical condition makes you look like the bad guy. What's interesting is how many people have reached out to me since this story got out with their own experiences of family members faking or exaggerating medical conditions. It's apparently more common than I realized, and it creates these really toxic family dynamics where truth becomes less important than maintaining peace. Multiple cousins have told me they suspected Sarah was lying but didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to cause problems. That collective silence is exactly what allows manipulative people to continue their behavior unchecked. Daniel has been processing a lot of realizations about his marriage since the truth came out. He told me that Sarah had used similar tactics in other areas of their relationship, claiming anxiety attacks to avoid social situations she didn't like or exaggerating minor health issues to get out of responsibilities. He said he feels stupid for not seeing the pattern earlier, but I reminded him that manipulation works precisely because it's subtle and targets people's compassion. Nobody wants to believe their partner would lie about something serious, so we give them the benefit of the doubt until the evidence becomes overwhelming. The family dynamics have shifted significantly in the weeks since the dinner incident. Sarah's no longer invited to family gatherings unless she's willing to apologize and acknowledge her behavior, which she hasn't done yet. Daniel comes to events alone now, which is awkward but necessary given the circumstances. My parents have been more mindful about enabling behavior and have actually started setting their own boundaries with family members who make unreasonable demands. It's like one person standing up gave others permission to do the same. I've also had some interesting conversations with friends outside the family about what constitutes reasonable accommodation versus enabling manipulation. Most people agree that if someone has a genuine medical condition with proper documentation, you should absolutely accommodate them within reason. But when someone refuses to provide proof, gets defensive when asked questions, and shows inconsistent symptoms, it's fair to be skeptical. Compassion doesn't mean turning off your critical thinking skills, and kindness doesn't require you to accept everything at face value. The revenge aspect of this whole story isn't about being vindictive or cruel, it's about natural consequences finally catching up to someone's actions. Sarah manipulated people for years, and eventually her lies collapsed under their own weight. Jessica and I didn't create the situation, we simply held up a mirror that forced everyone to see what was actually happening. Sometimes the most powerful form of revenge is just letting the truth speak for itself and refusing to participate in someone's delusion. My house remains a peanut butter-friendly zone, and I'm incredibly grateful I stood my ground on that boundary. I can enjoy my peanut butter toast every morning without guilt, I can use my kitchen however I want, and I don't have to walk on eggshells around someone's fake medical condition. These might seem like small things, but they represent something much bigger, which is the right to live authentically in your own space without having to accommodate someone else's lies. If you're dealing with a similar situation where someone's demands seem unreasonable or their story doesn't quite add up, I encourage you to trust yourself and ask questions. You're not being mean or unsupportive by requiring proof of serious medical conditions before making major life changes. You're being responsible and protecting yourself from manipulation. Real medical conditions come with documentation, consistent symptoms, and logical precautions that the person takes seriously. Fake conditions come with drama, inconsistency, and defensiveness when questioned. The other important takeaway here is about the importance of having at least one person in your corner who validates your reality. Having Jessica believe me and support my perspective made such a huge difference in my ability to stand firm against family pressure. If you're the only one questioning something that everyone else seems to accept, find that one person who will listen to your concerns and help you think through the situation logically. Sometimes you need that external validation to confirm you're not crazy for seeing what others won't. I want to address something that some people have mentioned in comments about other videos discussing similar situations. Some folks say that it's always better to accommodate people's requests even if you suspect they're lying, because what if you're wrong and someone gets hurt? I understand that perspective, but I also think it misses the bigger picture about enabling harmful behavior. If Sarah had a real allergy and I had evidence of that, I would absolutely accommodate her. But I had 2 years of observations, photographic evidence, and finally empirical proof that she was lying. At some point, protecting yourself from manipulation is more important than avoiding potential conflict. The financial aspect of Sarah's lie is something I haven't really touched on yet, but it's worth mentioning. My parents spent hundreds of dollars replacing food items, my siblings bought new cookware to avoid cross-contamination, and family gatherings became exponentially more expensive because everything had to be specially prepared. When you add up all the money that multiple people spent over 2 years to accommodate a fake allergy, we're talking about thousands of dollars that could have been used for literally anything else. Sarah essentially taxed the entire family financially to maintain her lie. Moving forward, I've implemented a personal policy about accommodating dietary restrictions and medical conditions. If someone tells me they have a serious allergy or medical condition that requires accommodation, I'll ask for documentation from a medical professional. This isn't about being difficult or unsupportive, it's about being responsible and protecting both them and myself. If they can't or won't provide that documentation, then I'll accommodate their dietary preferences as a choice, but not as a medical necessity. This feels like a reasonable middle ground that respects genuine conditions while not enabling manipulation. The comments I've received on social media about this situation have been overwhelmingly supportive, with many people sharing their own stories of family members who fake or exaggerate conditions for attention. It seems like this is a much more common phenomenon than we talk about publicly because there's so much stigma around questioning someone's medical claims. We've created a culture where asking for proof of a serious medical condition is seen as cruel, but that culture also creates perfect conditions for manipulative people to abuse others' compassion. We need to find a balance between being supportive and being discerning. Looking at Sarah's behavior through a psychological lens, what she did is actually a recognized pattern called factitious disorder when it's about seeking medical attention, or in this case, just manipulation for control and sympathy. People who engage in this behavior often have deeper issues around attention, control, and self-worth that manifest in these kinds of lies. I hope Sarah gets the help she needs to address whatever's driving this behavior, but that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to protect my own peace and not enable harmful patterns. Daniel has started to rebuild his relationship with the family separate from Sarah, which has been nice to see. We've had some good conversations about boundaries, manipulation, and recognizing red flags in relationships. He's admitted that there were signs throughout their marriage that something was off, but he ignored them because he loved her and wanted to believe the best. It's a good reminder that love doesn't require you to ignore reality or accept behavior that's harmful. Real love includes honesty, accountability, and mutual respect for truth. As we approach the end of this story, I want to circle back to the core issue that started everything. Should you have to completely restructure your home and habits for a family member's alleged medical condition when you have legitimate reasons to doubt its authenticity? My answer is no, especially when that family member refuses to provide any medical documentation and shows inconsistent symptoms. Your home is your sanctuary, and you have every right to maintain boundaries about who stays there and under what conditions. The most unexpected outcome of this whole situation has been how it strengthened my relationships with the family members who supported me. My cousin Jessica and I are much closer now. My parents and I have a better understanding about boundaries and enabling, and even Daniel and I have a stronger relationship built on honesty. Sometimes conflict is necessary to clear the air and establish healthier patterns, even though it's uncomfortable in the moment. The temporary discomfort of confrontation is worth the long-term benefit of authentic relationships. If Sarah ever apologizes and demonstrates real change in her behavior, I would be open to rebuilding a relationship with her. But that apology needs to be genuine, not another manipulation tactic, and it needs to come with acknowledgement of the harm she caused and the lies she told. Forgiveness is possible, but it doesn't mean forgetting what happened or immediately trusting someone who has proven themselves untrustworthy. Trust is rebuilt slowly through consistent changed behavior over time, not through words alone. To wrap this all up, what started as a simple request for temporary housing became a catalyst for exposing years of manipulation and lies. My refusal to accommodate what I suspected was a fake allergy led to the truth coming out, which ultimately served everyone better than continuing to enable the deception. Sometimes being the difficult family member who asks uncomfortable questions is exactly what's needed to break dysfunctional patterns. I'm proud that I trusted my instincts, stood my ground, and prioritized truth over temporary peace, even when it made me unpopular. So, that's my story about the vegan peanut allergy that wasn't really an allergy at all. If you made it this far, thanks for listening to this whole saga. Drop a comment below telling me whether you think I handled this correctly or if you would have done something differently. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to hear more real stories about family drama, boundaries, and standing up for yourself. And remember, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. And you never have to apologize for protecting your peace. I'll see you in the next video.